Brian, thank you so much for coming up. Please let us know what your question is.
So if I have a 2.875 rate on a 30-year mortgage, considering the current inflationary environment, what incentive would I have to pay it off ahead of time?
Okay. You said I got a 2.875 interest rate?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the amount of the mortgage is how much?
450 thereabouts.
450. Let's start there. Okay, so we got 450,000. Okay. And at 2.875 was a 30-year loan?
Yeah.
All right, great. And so our principal and interest payment on that is $1,867.02. That's just the principal and interest. We're not including the taxes and insurance, okay?
Yeah.
So first of all, at 2.875, when we close on this loan, the bank has to show us how much interest we would owe over the 30-year term if we decided to keep it that long. And that would be $222,127.20. So my first question is $222,000, is that, 2.875% of 450,000?
No.
Okay, it's actually 49%. So already we're behind the eight ball on this thing. We're going to pay 49% of what we borrowed in the form of interest. So that's the first thing we have to take a look at. So what we're looking at is if we are conflating compound interest with amortized interest, some people who ask that question are wondering, am I really saving that much interest on a 2.875 mortgage when I could be taking that money and putting in some sort of investment? Is that kind of where this is going?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So this is, what's the best and highest use of my money? Yeah, I get it. So here's what's going on. First of all, let's take a look at payment number one on this. Payment number one, $788.89 goes to principal, $1,078 goes to interest. That's what's going on. And if we watch this thing, we're taking a look at this and seeing that we have interest payments starting out at $1,078. A year from now, we're still making interest payments of $1,057.08. So it starts out at $1,078 and it only goes down a year later to $1,057. So every month we're making $1,000 payments. And not only for the first year, we're making $1,000 interest payments for year 2 and year 3 and part of year 4. So after we're 36 months, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40 months in, we paid this loan down by $33,000 if we just made the minimum payment. But it cost us $41,605 in interest in just 40 months. That's what's going on. So what we're trying to do is show how you can use small amounts of money to kill that amount of interest so you don't have to pay all of that interest. It's not the interest rate that we need to focus on. It's the interest cost that we focus on. So my question is the interest cost of $41,605, is that too much to pay your loan down by $33,000 in just 40 months? So let's see what we can then do about, let's go ahead and invest that money. All right. And then see if there's any other monies that might be sitting dormant elsewhere. So a lot of the investors that I talk to have money that's sitting on the sideline for repairs and the maintenance. Do you keep a reserve fund?
I do, but it's not that big. I'm net short on the market overall.
Okay.
So that's where a lot of it is.
All right. So even if we have just a small amount of money in reserve, so let's say we want to keep the majority of our money working and making more money, but we keep a little bit of money on the side. And do you have a particular plan as to how to keep a reserve fund funded? Do you have a particular percentage of your monies that come in that you put into the reserve fund, or just whenever we get around to it?
I've got a specific percentage that comes.
There you go. That's what we need. So I'm going to give you a little bit way that we look at this. I'm just throw some numbers out here. Let's say I got about 10 grand in reserve. Okay. And I've got a certain amount of money that goes into that reserve monthly. And on this particular mortgage, I've got about 10 grand in reserve. If I took out $5,562 out of my reserve account and applied it to this mortgage, now I'm still investing my other money. But if I took $5,562 out of my reserve account and applied it to mortgage principal as a prepayment, you know, that knocks off about 7 months worth of payments I never have to make. And it saves me $6,400 in interest I never have to pay.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So if I did something like that, where I'm using my reserve funds instead of the money that I could invest, then is it possible I could have the best of both worlds?
Yeah, possibly.
Okay. And then if I decided that I just took about 5 grand out, what if I decided just to wait until I build that back up out of the monies that I have designated that go into that account to pay myself back?
Let me step back a few seconds.
Sure.
Hold on. So 5562, and we're assuming a mortgage payment of what, 18 something?
Yeah, we're looking at a mortgage payment of 1867.02.
Yeah. So, and you're saying, okay, so 5562, and it shaves off 7 months if you put it towards the principal today, right?
Correct.
If I put that towards anything that pulls in approximately 7% year over year. All right. So after about 20 years, it'll be about what, 16,000 thereabouts.
Right.
I can just divide it right now.
Well, see, here's the thing. Let's take a look at it this way.
That's my point is this. If I invest that 5562
Right.
over what, a 20-year period, and I just don't touch it, I make averaged out over that 20-year period about 7% a year, right? You know, keeps up with the market, pulls about 7% a year. Then after about 20 years, I cash that out. I've got 8 months, a little bit over 8 months of payments I can make towards the mortgage.
Right.
So, I mean, from what you're describing, I guess that's why I'm confused.
Let me help you here. So I see where you're going, but when you're saying in 8 years, I could put that money on and it would be just as effective as putting that money on towards the mortgage. Let me put that in my investment and then in 8 years apply it to the mortgage. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I mean, your point was it takes off, if I put in the money now,
it
takes off 7 months with the payments.
Right.
But then if I invest that money and leave it untouched for, 20 years or so,
Sure.
then withdraw it at that point, liquidate it and then apply it to payments. I pay off more of the mortgage doing it that way.
Yeah, you pay off a good chunk of principal.
Yeah, but I still take off more months from the mortgage overall.
Yes, but here's the thing. The longer you wait, the less money you can save. So we're not paying off the mortgage to pay it off fast. We're paying off this mortgage to pay it off cheap. Our focus is not how much we owe. The focus is on how much it costs to borrow how much I owe. So the longer I wait, so if I have, let's say I have $5,000, okay? Anytime I put $5,000 on this loan, I'm going to reduce the amount of principal that I owe by $5,000 no matter where I put it. I could do it this year. I could do it 5 years from now. I can do it 10 years from now. If that's all I do is apply $5,000 to this loan, I'm going to reduce how much I owe by 5 grand, correct? Okay. But if I apply that 5 grand in the first year, can I save the same amount of interest if I apply that 5 grand in the 5th year?
I guess where I'm getting lost is I don't see the value in measuring exactly how much interest was saved.
Maybe I could make it clearer this way. Take a look at line 12 here. Are you seeing line 12?
You can read it to me.
Okay, let's say if I had an investment of $24,000, okay? And a year from now, I'll guarantee you, all I will return to you is $9,592. So here's what I'm talking about. If we do that, in the first year on this loan, you're giving the bank over $24,000 to pay your loan down by $9,592. That's exactly the investment you're making. You're giving them 24 grand just to create $9,500 in equity. So what I'm saying is continue to invest what you're investing, but please don't lose sight of the fact that it costs you a boatload of money to just make the minimum payments to get your equity out of the thing. Because if it costs me $12,811 to get $9,500 in equity, can I justify that? If I have $9,500 laying around in an account making 0.1%, when I could apply it to this mortgage and save myself $11,000 in interest I don't have to pay.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L.L method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.